I think we should start every week with you doing that.
Welcome to Michael's house. Right, okay, right, let's start this. Will I start?
Yeah, if you want. Well, actually, how are we going to do this? Do you want to?
Hello and welcome to Double Feature, which is going to be our new feature for www.areashift. I'm going to start again.
That's a good plan. I don't really know where to look because I don't know.
Look
Should I
at
look
the
at the
camera.
camera? Right.
Look at it again. Not like this. Not like. Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, I'll try not to.
Definitely don't do that. Alan's
I'll
got
get
a
that out of the
cold.
way. I'll get that out of the way first.
Alan has a cold. Hello! Let's try this again. I'm going to do this again. Right, third time lucky. Alright. Serious face. Hello and welcome to Double Feature, which is our latest web show for the site. And I'm going to start that again. Fourth time lucky. Fourth time lucky. Welcome to Double Feature. This is our new feature for areashiftybun.com and for our YouTube channel. I'm Mike and this...
I'm Alan Mandius. Look upon my works, ye mighty in despair.
I was just going to say this is Alan.
Yeah.
Basically we had this idea where Alan is totally into anime, film and hentai.
Don't tell them that.
Not really hentai, I'm only joking. He's really, like, he loves anime films and all things Japan.
I'm not entirely sure I'm comfortable with everyone knowing this, but carry on.
Why? Basically, Alan really loves anime, and I'm being very camp today, have you noticed this? Alan loves anime, and I love horror films. But there's a lot of times where Alan talks about movies I have no idea what he's talking about because it's some sort of like obscure Japanese thing, hence the anime reviews on the site. And
Mike talks about everything else and I have no idea.
Yeah,
I think it's more of a notion. But
yeah, I know,
anyway.
okay, we have a notion to swap films maybe once a week or once every couple of weeks. And Alan will go away and look at a recommendation that I've given him and Alan will recommend something to me and then we'll have a little talk about it and see what we think. Because like people really care about what we think.
Yeah.
They don't.
Well, no, we'll keep making videos until they care. Yeah.
It's quite egotistical, isn't it, making videos with reviews? I've been thinking about this recently, like making reviews, it's quite an egotistical thing, isn't it?
It is actually.
Who really cares? Who really gives a
Well, I think if you keep doing it, eventually people will care. Build it and they will come.
It'll work for Kevin Costner.
Yeah.
Introduce your film.
Yes, this week I have forced Mike to watch The Castle of Cagliostro, which is Hayao Miyazaki's very first feature film, and it is part of the Lupin the Third franchise. Although, I don't know, Mike, do you want to try and synopsize the film in your own words, or should I do it? I think it would be more entertaining if you did it, actually.
It was made by a Japanese junkie who,
he's looking at the back of the box.
out of his mind on crack, sketched a few things. And
He smoked crack out of his
Yeah, I've never really watched anime. There's one film that I mentioned to you. What was it called?
Castle in the Sky, which funnily enough is directed by the same guy.
Right. I remember watching an anime film when I was a kid, and I'm intrigued to know what anime is about, like, because I'm really not into it. So I said to Alan, and so did some people on our forum as well, what would be a good film to start you off in anime? And Alan suggested this. It's like a heist film, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
about this character. Is it Lupin? Is that how you pronounce it?
I was just going with Lupin, to be honest.
Okay, well, Lupin. It says Lopan from Big Trouble in Little China. He's like a sort of charismatic, old school criminal, I would say.
He's kind of a gentleman thief.
Yeah, definitely, and that's a much better way of putting it. The film starts off with, how does it start off again? It starts off with, I have watched this.
It's Lupin and his partner Jigen pull off a heist on a casino, only to discover that, you know, the millions and millions of pounds worth, well, you know I'm saying pounds, the millions and millions in paper money that they've stolen is in fact counterfeit. This gives them the notion that, you know, instead of whining about it, you know, they should in fact find out where the counterfeit money came from and then take them over.
So just to cut things short then, basically they go to this castle that's in this place, Cagliostro.
Hence the name.
And we find out there's a bit of backstory about how Lupin's actually been there before. And the entire film then takes the course of Lupin trying to get into the castle, basically, yeah.
Well, it's I would say it's more about him trying to save the princess. But
Well, but that comes in eventually, doesn't it? There's a
Yeah.
princess in a castle.
Yeah.
Who would have thunk it?
Mm.
But he's initially trying to find out, like you say, where this counterfeit money's
Yeah,
coming
yeah.
from. Anyway, that's the worst synopsis you'll probably hear for anything ever, and I really do apologise. I have to say, I loved it.
Mm.
I was really blown away by it. I actually think it's possibly one of the best adventure films I've ever seen. The characters are fantastic. I think that's what makes it, is the chemistry between all the characters.
No, absolutely,
I
yeah.
have to say, some of you anime aficionados out there are probably going to like punch me through your computer screens, but I watched this with the English dub.
Mm.
I didn't watch it with the original.
Yeah, personally, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but yeah.
And I have to say, I thought the dub was excellent.
Yeah.
I wouldn't
No,
even, you wouldn't even be able to tell. It was all
yeah.
lip synced as well. It seemed it was.
I mean, I'm inclined to agree. I think that is a very good dub. I mean, a lot. Some people do criticise that for being slightly inaccurate to what was in the original Japanese voice track, but I think it gets the spirit across, and I think the cast is very well chosen. They all sound exactly right for the characters.
I read somewhere that the guy who originally did the voice for Lupin actually like dubbed all of Clint Eastwood's westerns
Yeah,
in
yeah,
Japan,
it's-
so like
yeah.
you had like sort of
It gives
Clint-
him a certain connotation in Japan.
Yeah,
that's the weird thing.
whereas in English dub he's like almost like a sort of adolescent, that's
Yeah,
it comes
yeah,
across like that.
I think that's part of. I think that suits him very well. I think it's kind of right for the character to have that kind of voice.
But anyway, a mess of me trying to sum up what this film is, but really, definitely find it and watch it, because I really loved it. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, it's not hard to find. I mean, it's this is usually in print and available everywhere. So it's,
The animation
yeah.
was great as well. I thought the animation
Oh,
was
it's
really
a beautiful
good.
film. Yeah.
Once they got to the castle and all that, I was like, this is like an Indiana Jones film or a Bond
Well,
film.
that's it. I
or-
mean,
that's how it
I would
felt.
actually liken it. I almost kind of want to say to the Pink Panther, but it's more serious than that. I mean, you could argue that Zenigata, police inspector, is a sort of Clouseau figure, but it's not as tongue in cheek as that. It's kind of like if somebody made the Pink Panther. If somebody made the Pink Panther only seriously.
I wish they did make the Pink Panther, and that would be awesome. I'm not convinced that's not like the name of some sort of porn knockoff.
Yeah, or it could be, like those guys that make they try to make the blockbuster films like at the same time so they can have them out on DVD and it's like
Or
cheap
like,
knockoff. Like
what's the
what was it?
Transmorphers?
Yeah, or I Am Omega.
I Am Omega,
Yeah.
Transmorphers. Great. Anyway,
They could have just called it GoBots,
GoBots would have been
Yeah.
good. Right. Right. I'm sort of always like to talk to him. Right, listen to me. Definitely check this out. Loved it. Loved it. And I'm going to check out a lot more anime now because of this. But not hentai. Like he's, Japanese pornography.
I think it's actually hentai.
Is it
yeah.
hentai? What's hentai? Probably some girl that lives down the road from me. Okay, so I suggested a film to you. Well, it was a little bit of a cheat because it wasn't a full film, was
Yeah,
it?
I like the way you did that. It's like almost a tag team wrestling kind of thing. Yeah.
You're in!
Yeah, yeah.
So it's been really camp today. Hello!
Shake hands like in the opening of Predator.
That doesn't really work when you're
It
not
does
Carl,
not, no,
when
yeah,
you're not
yeah.
Carl Weathers and Arnold Schwarzenegger, it doesn't work.
yeah. But I watched A Warning to the Curious, which is a BBC made-for-TV adaptation of an M.R. James short story, and yeah, I really liked it actually. Yeah, it's crucially, I would say I did not like it quite as much as the earlier one, Whistle and I'll Come to You.
I can understand that.
Yeah, it's essentially about a middle-aged clerk who, I don't know, is he a bank clerk or do they even say? It's about a middle-aged clerk during the Depression in the 1920s, or 30s? In the 1920s, let's
It's
go with
not
that.
painful. You're alright.
In this, who, having been made redundant from his job, has gotten wind that there is a treasure to be found in the near the town of Seabourn. Seabourn, was it? Seabourn?
I don't think we need this amount of detail.
Am I going into
And he
this
was
too much?
he wore size 8 shoes.
Yes, in a black coat. He goes to dig up the treasure and he starts seeing the ghost of the man that protected the treasure, and he does not like it very much.
That's probably about as far as you can go without ruining it,
to be honest, yeah.
I suggested it because I've been re-watching a lot of the BBC Ghost Stories for Christmas, and they're all about 40 minutes, 45
Yeah, I
minutes
think it was
long.
about, yeah.
And
Just
most of them are just some of the best ghost stories and horror that I've seen on television. Plus the fact that they're based on M.R. James, who's like my favourite, one of my favourite writers. What did you think though about the scares? Because there are no jump out scares.
Well, I think it's more sort of sense of quiet malice, a kind of building sense of paranoia and sort of building terror rather than any kind of one, sort of jump out of the seat moment, really. I think there's a real sense of kind of loneliness and being ill at ease. Even when there are other characters around, there's still kind of feeling that the main character, Paxton, I think his name was, just isn't being...
Bill Paxton.
Yes, it's Bill Paxton. He's dressed exactly the way he is in Aliens, and yeah...
As Hudson.
Yeah, yeah.
That would have been weird.
It would have been awesome. But yeah, no, there's a sense that he just doesn't really fit in. That he's always the outsider because he's from London. This is very much sort of small.
I think there's a tremendous sadness to it as well. I think about his character and when he starts talking about how he's been laid off and all that, and it's really really sad. But I would definitely recommend it to anyone that likes ghost stories or wants to see real horror, because most of the horror that we see now, it's all in your face. And what's great about the ghost stories for Christmas is that they build it up through suspense, but they do show you things. It's not just all in your imagination. They do show you things.
That was the one thing that I think I kind of liked so much about Whistling Will Come to You, because there's a sense that it could almost go either way, without wanting to give anything away about that. There is very much that element throughout a lot of the film, whether it is in the character's mind or not. And I mean, I don't know, some people maybe prefer that, some people won't. But yeah, no, I mean, I can understand that it's a different type of story in a way to what that one was, even though they are quite similar. I think the main thing that stuck with me was just how well shot it was. I mean, for a little made for TV drama, I mean, it looks amazing.
It's all shot on film, isn't it? 16mm probably, and
well, I mean, even just the way it's framed and everything as well. I mean, it's.
What about the scene though? And sorry, I'm tagging you again. What about the scene? I won't ruin exactly what happens, but the one where he wakes up in his room. I thought that was terrifying. Really terrifying. Because I think that's one that always gets me. See anything where someone wakes up and there's something there.
Yeah.
Because I always have this terrible fear that one day I'm going to wake up and there's going to be like this withered old woman sitting or standing in my room just staring at me, and I'm going to get up and I'm going to panic and I'm going to destroy her, and then I'll find out that she's some poor senile woman that's actually been wandering around and just left her house, and not actually some sort of supernatural being that came to harm me, and then I've ended up I've murdered a woman.
I think possibly Sigmund Freud might have something to say about that as well. But
that's not a dream, I just worry about that. So you probably have something to say about that as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, I have no idea how much time we've got left on this. I think we should probably wrap it up.
We probably should. So essentially, go and watch The Castle of Cagliostro and go and watch yes, go and watch Whistling Will Come to You.
But also watch A Warning to the Curious.
Yes.
And it's a good night from me.
And it's a good night from him.
Ta-da!
Hey.
Alright, thanks for listening, guys.